1. I am live. I am gonna give it a second for the lag because YouTube. What up, homeboys? We are on the third episode of the Unofficial podcast. That's right. I am Sam Medina, the handsomest Torin in the Southern Hemisphere, and I am once again accompanied by Jake from 3, Warrior Connoisseur. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Medina?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. I have a lot of fun in Phase 3 and a couple spare guys, but for the most part, really good stuff going on here. So you've been breaking down the meta for Warriors in Phase 3. You came out into a lot of really crazy conclusions here. Like, people are already cheesing it to the max. What's your craziest cheese?
I guess probably the ones that'll give people the most damage relative to other people right now would be like cleaving the dragons that can knock people into the middle of the room, because there's going to be a lot of raid leaders that are going to be fucking terrified of someone screwing that up. So like, if you can get your raid to want to stack those dragons and cleave them, that's going to be, in my opinion, a big edge, because most people are just going to say, fuck that dude, why do you need to pad, man? And so if you can get your raid leader to be like, but I want to, that's going to be a big edge. But most of the other ones, other people catch on to it. What have you been doing in the raids? Have you been playing Shaman?
No, I've been playing my Warrior. I think the Prot Warrior has been like probably the best it's been since Phase 1 right now for Prot. Like, Vigilance is outrageously busted. I don't have any threat issues anymore. I guess I could go Fury. Like, there are people going Gladiator stance, not for the threat, of course. Like, the threat is worse in Gladiator stance as far as I could see. But like, the damage, right? Do you want to support the raid with damage? Well, I am basically dead weight except for like the threat I do right now, but that's what I like. I don't wanna get the parts. I don't wanna do the whole thing, and my raid is gonna kill the guy. It's a little slower because of it, because I'm probably not going gladiator stance. But I think the warrior is in a very healthy state for tanking. How do you feel on DPS side though?
Oh yeah, I think it looks great for warrior players, at least. I don't think it's bad for the game either for warriors to be a dominant DPS class. Just because it's like, if you have no utility to offer and you're melee, you kind of... Yeah, exactly. So I feel bad for rogues, I'd say. I mean, rogues look like they're doing pretty good now too, but like usual, rogues kind of lag. If warriors are good, rogues like have a shot at being good, but they're usually just like a worse version of a warrior. Except like in Wrath, early on at least. Like early on, Wrath rogues they're pretty good. Later on, Warrior kind of clowns them. So I feel bad for the yellow boys, I guess.
The TBC rogue was like the best example of it. Nobody wanted a rogue in a raid ever in TBC because they did less damage than a warrior. They didn't even have that Arms tiny itty bitty buff that Arms warriors gave, and like they didn't even do the best damage. Like that, I agree with you that if warriors or rogues are not very strong in the damage, that they are gonna get screwed. I was hoping maybe they would give us some utility, but they are really scared of doing that. So I guess they're gonna have to crank up the numbers.
Yeah, I wish with rogues they get maybe a little more clever with how they balance them. Like, for example, with rogue tanking, them thinking that they should approach it from an evasion tank standpoint. It just doesn't make any sense because you put too much variance. Yeah, because it's like, to make it reliable, they'd have to just be unhittable. So it's like they need to work like a feral druid, in my opinion. Like, make it maybe give them a paragraph long rune that's like, you get 300% armor, but not against players, but against players you get this instead, like something like that. Because right now it's like, poor fucking rogues, dude. At least in my opinion, I don't think they're in an amazing spot.
I mean, they can do some crazy stuff if they get decent RNG in some fights. For example, Morphas and the other guy whose name I always forget, the one that puts you in the nightmare thing of the Kelris guy, like, they are, to my knowledge, the only people that can like feasibly survive the whole thing without the swap. And they cannot do it every time. But if they get decent RNG, they can do it, because the problem with the rogue is exactly that they take no damage, boom, one shot. That's why it doesn't work. The evasion thing, like, eventually they are gonna get hit, and God forbid they get a parry and they get hit twice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to be a warrior this phase. I'm kind of surprised that the like, originally I didn't think the Glad stance tanking shit would really work. I thought that like they'd probably build threat in a way where like it wouldn't hold, But fuck, I guess they just pump so much damage that like it just doesn't even matter. I'd probably, if I was tanking though, I would most likely do what you're doing and just be deep prot, make it a little easier on the healers. It'd be different if you're playing with like everybody and they're all trying to parse, like, go Glad Stance. I assume that it's enough damage per healer requirement that it's an upgrade for your group. But if you're not like in a super serious group, I mean, I'd rather, not die in a situation where Parat would maybe make it easier to not die. I'd feel very foolish if I was like, oh, I got overkilled by 100. Fuck, if I wasn't in Glad Stance, bro.
Bro, I was getting like they nerfed Trash of Eranicos. Now that the nerfs kicked in, we're gonna see a lot more Gladiator tanks. But like I owe an apology to Blizzard because when I saw that rune, I was like, this is the most stupid thing I've ever seen. But like now that the meta has settled and like it turns out that the warrior has so much surplus threat that they can afford to lose threat with Gladiator because Gladiator is a threat loss. Like the best gladiators are doing about 10% less threat than I do. It's still plenty. And like you get like another full-on DPS in your raid. So I am very happy because like the player base that likes the Fury tank, the dual Willow, I do a lot of damage, those people are gonna be happy. They still exist in the game now, in a different form of course. And the normal tank, my crowd that didn't get to be a normal tank for 2 phases, now we can be normal again. So I think this is the best of both worlds for the warrior, honestly.
Yeah, I think Warrior seems like it's in a really good spot. I'm curious what the upcoming balance patches are going to look like. I wouldn't be too surprised if they get nerfed. I also wouldn't be too surprised if they let it just kind of ride. I imagine for the average warrior, it'll appear very balanced. Like you'll have a pretty easy time getting into a raid group, but you won't just like stick out at the top of the meters. Like if you check the best warriors and the runs that they're in, like they kind of jut out a bit. But if you check most of the bosses, a warrior DPS is not hugely different from the other classes DPS wise. But that's
it's
not true
about
for all.
fourth
I mean, the
place,
really short fights,
except
like,
on the very top. The very top is insane.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
You broke down all of those lore quite a bit, right? Sorry, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder how Blizzard's going to feel about it. Like, if all the classes have a pretty easy time getting into raid, then I think the game's pretty balanced. If that's not the case, then I think that's really like the best way to look at balance. Usually, I mean, it depends on how competitive the game is. It's not always the right way, but I think it's a decent little lens to use.
Yeah, because vanilla works different than normal WoW. Like in retail WoW, if one guy does 1500 DPS and the other guy does 1000, it's not balanced and it doesn't work. But in here, like, utility is such an important factor because, random example here, Shadow Weaving the Shadow Priest, like 10% more damage to Shadow, right? The Shadow Priest can freaking sucking damage, and if you got enough Warlocks in the raid, he's gonna still be contributing enough damage to the raid through the buff that he still is very good. Like, logs never see, it's not really logs. DPS averages never really show the whole story because of that. But like, of course, I think we need like the classes with the least utility are the ones that get the most love on the DPS meters. I don't know if that's the healthiest way to look at it, but that's the way vanilla works, and I don't think we should mess with it.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to look at balancing the games anyways, like, playing in 2019, mages, for example, especially early on, like when fire immunity is a thing in BWL and MC, they were, in a lot of respects, the worst DPS class, but they had no problem getting into raids. Like, it wouldn't be difficult to convince a pug raid leader to put you in and be like, hey, I, like, have Prebus, can I get an invite? And they'll be like, sure, I just want to start the fucking raid. I am not in a hurry. Like to find I am in a hurry. I want to add anybody so we get fucking polling because the content was easy. And it's like Sunken Temple. It's the same thing. I think the content being pretty easy is good because it's like make a situation where raid leaders think, dude, I just want to fucking fill the group, and then make it so most people like to be in the group too. So I mean, like in my opinion, Feral Druid should be a class that people really desire playing. If you make like shamans, maybe they're a little OP. But them being a desirable class to play is kind of nice in that it makes the gaming experience better for all the melee on Horde. It's a nice feature. I think Feral's not saying that they need to be OP like shamans or whatever, but if you make people really want to be Feral, I think it makes the experience of other players better. So maybe Feral should get a little more love.
I don't know. Feral DPS is, I don't know exactly how it looks, but like Feral in general, if you want to parse, this is not for everybody, I guess, but if you want to parse, Mangle is like how much % extra bleed damage? That's a huge thing for the
I
Warriors,
think
of
it's
course.
30.
Yeah, like if you're a
Mhm.
Warrior, you want that. Like, I don't think they were gonna run out of feral spots anytime soon. And of course, they are another Wind Fury, even if they are not the ideal
Mhm.
thing. But they are doing decent damage right now, right? Aren't they? They are doing like 5th place, something like that. For a Druid, that's good.
Oh yeah, no, I just mean that I don't know if feral druids feel like they're having enough fun in raid that it's easy to find enough of them to keep the other melee players buffed,
Probably
which
true.
could make it harder. Yeah, for like a raid leader to justify taking a melee. Like if you don't have the ferals, then you probably wouldn't want the other melee. So like potentially, I think it'd be nice if feral got some more love, just because I think it would make other classes also feel better. I mean, in the same way, like warlocks would probably enjoy if it was hard to get a shadow priest. Like if there wasn't a lot of them and they wanted shadow weaving, warlocks would benefit from shadow priest getting buffs. That way, shadow weaving gets brought in. Just the
Yeah.
same kind of concept as that.
We don't want to go back to
But I haven't been
TBC
making groups.
Alliance back in the day where there were like 3 shamans in the entire server.
Dude, it was fucking terrible. Like TBC, I think if you had an ideal raid comp, man, what a fantastic expansion. But the average warrior didn't have a shaman, and that was hell on earth. And so nobody wanted melee DPS for a lot of reasons. But it didn't help that it was hard to get Wind Furies. Period. Even though like the warrior also, even with the Wind Fury, unless they were like totally kitted and playing perfect, they would just get smoked by shit like hunters and warlocks.
Yeah. It's just the mechanics, everything of TBC hates melees. They really hated melees in TBC. I don't know why they had such a hate boner. If it wasn't for the glaives, most people would have quit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally. And I think making Feral a really good tank also contributed to at least warriors not being super taken to raid, because like a Feral in TBC is like they're a better tank than warrior on every dimension tanking wise, except for they don't have the crazy CDs, which could be helpful in a couple spots. But then also they could just go feral DPS and do like 85% of a hunter's DPS. So it's like you could take a warrior, prot warrior, and then when they're not main tanking, they're
They
fucking
are sucking.
useless. Or you could take a feral, yeah, and
Yeah,
they're killer either way.
and like the problem was that I think that the warrior in TBC didn't have any identity because you had the Pally was the AoE tank. He was the guy you took for the AoE fights. You had then he became insane in single target too because everything was a demon in the later tiers. And at the other side, you had the bear being the best single target tank, the best single target threat, and mitigation. And the warrior was just in the middle, being neither good at any. And like, yeah, it didn't work. You didn't have anything.
Fucking TBC.
Yeah, I played a Pally though.
Oh,
I love
man.
Pally TBC, bro. So broken.
Yeah, like, oh, dude, if they did TBC again and they somehow TBC all over again, make shamans OP in some way that makes there be a bunch more players, change nothing else. Like, you could even let warriors just not be like all that great, but just make a plenty of shamans. Like, oof, people would fucking love that expansion. If your raid easily got all the utility, I think most people would say TBC is the best expansion out of
Absolutely.
the three first, or well, the first out of classic, TBC, Wrath. Just having a brain fart there.
And it also will
Although if
make the
there's no
shaman
changes,
players a
man,
little
fucking
better.
classic.
Because, like, I am guilty of this. All the people that roll shaman, they suck, but they could afford to suck, so they never got better. Because, like, what they gonna do? Get rid of the shaman? You need 5 of those. Good luck, brother. Good luck.
This is totally a fucking thing, dude. Like, I remember shamans like doing shit like not doing their heroes when called and crap, like, and fucking it up over and over again. It's like, bro, what are you gonna do?
Never
Fucking
did a
pick the
single
shaman?
mechanic.
Like,
Nobody could say anything about it. What are they gonna do? Not have Wind Fury? Good luck, brother.
oh my god,
Your call. I can get in a new raid in
that'd be
5
the
minutes.
Exactly. Oh man, definitely when a class is super in demand and there's not enough people for it, there are people who pick classes like that because they can get away with it. Like as a warrior, even in classic, you can't really get away with it. Even though warrior is like the best DPS at 60, there's so much competition. If you want to be in a really good guild, it doesn't matter that you're the best DPS class, somebody will fucking replace your ass. But TBC, it's like raid leader looking for 6 shamans. Fuck, brother. Fuck.
Even the
So
priest,
much of the
right?
raid
Like you can
team.
afford to suck so much as a priest before people get mad at you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Being a healer's fucking stressful though. Ugh. I used to play
Stressful?
that shit. I'm happy that I don't do that.
So easy, bro. You do wild growth. Did
Yeah, I
you
used
see
to
what I
always
played?
play a healer.
Normal
Swap
healers
to
are
tanking because
hard.
people listen better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with this. I know you do a lot of raid leading videos, so this is an interesting point here. But I always thought that the main tank should be the raid lead of a raid. I think it's the ideal
hmm
spot to do it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think for most people, yes. If you have a main tank that can kind of read your mind, it's probably better to not. But like it's nice how if you're the main tank, you cut all the communication between the raid leader and the main
Exactly.
tank out of the equation. And it's different though, like probably the best position is to be if it's like a speed run and if a pole hunter is utilized, it's probably best to be the pole hunter. But you need a main tank that's kind of like raid leading with you in my opinion, and that's like a hard relationship to build because like you got to have the same opinions about so many things and kind of know what each of you wants. For most people, just be the main tank. It's easier. Even if you're trying to speed run, like I did tons of really competitive speed runs where we didn't have like a real pull hunter, except for some pulls you need a fucking hunter. Like if you had somebody try to face pull something, it'd be a problem. But you can be a top 1% speed running guild with no pull hunter. It's like it's not a big deal.
I see even like in retail now because like that thing is so insane, like synchronized swimming while you're like disabling a bomb in a space. But like they got a raid leader that is not even in the raid now because we got Discord streaming. And like because it takes so much focus now that the raid leader is not even in the raid anymore because he cannot raid and raid lead the guild at the same time. It's outrageous.
Oh yeah, retail's fucking nuts. I've been playing just a little bit of it, and some of my friends they tried to. I don't know how much you've played of it, but like you do these. If you're not doing rating, you do these like mythic plus keys, and you slowly get some more item
Super
level, and
hard.
then you can do higher level ones. And eventually, you get to the point where like a lot of mechanics, if you do them wrong, they one shot you. And so like my character's geared enough that we can do those now. And so it'll be like, man, hopefully I only get myself killed once or twice in this dungeon by being a fucking idiot. Because my friends are really good. You know, they're pushing me to get better, but I'm just not all that good at it. So I get smoked when I play with them. But it's fun. It's real fun.
Yeah, I don't want to maintain the illusion because I know a lot of classic players that maintain the illusion. I wouldn't last a minute in retail, okay? I would get destroyed. I am barely an acceptable player in classic. Like that thing is
hmm
so hard. I'm like, honestly, I don't think it like 70% of the player base in classic, 80% can handle that. I think it's too hard. Like I don't think it's healthy for the game either
hmm
to be that hard. But
Oh yeah, I think classic. If it was like retail, it'd be very bad for it. Because I mean, when even though I only have probably 5 or 6 hours like doing retail, every hour I have been like the most important. Well, it's like to have fun is like very important. That's like the primary thing. But like it's like 50% is like have fun, and 50% is like I need you guys to grill me because it'll help me learn. So like don't tell me like oh it's okay you made that mistake. Like tell me exactly what I fucked up and how you would have not fucked it up. Like, because my friends, they try to be nice sometimes. Like, you gotta be a little rougher with me so that way I learn.
oh, I was put through Eranico's boot camp, my first raid, bro. That thing was. I don't think I'm messing that guy up again.
Uh-huh.
It does work, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. People can be a little politer than what happened in there, but, sometimes it's good for people to really needle you.
Well,
Especially if you have no idea what's going wrong.
it's one of those things, I guess, if you raid with the same people often enough, it's like you can get really mad at somebody for like 10 seconds and then go back to normal, and that's just the way it works. It's a little weirder with
hmm
randos, so you can probably do that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, I miss the
Yeah, like
Eranico so
random people
much.
never. I'm
So
really
much.
happy with how they have a lot of the mechanics in fucking ST. Like, I think that the festering slime boss, that's
It's
a
my
really cool
favorite.
boss. Yeah, it's so creative too for them to come up with it. I like how you can cleave the dumb little furniture. I mean, it kind of sucks that the optimal strat for a DPS warrior seems like you get Eden and then you just hit him. Like in my opinion, maybe make it so the boss is programmed so this might be impossible, so this might be stupid, but make the front of the boss count as the back of the boss. So that way if you get eaten, instead of hitting him from behind, you get parries. So it's like your DPS gets reduced from getting eaten. I think something like that would be cool. Because it kind of sucks. It's like, how do you parse? Oh, you like don't do any of the mechanics. And you tell your raid group, hey, can you guys just heal me through it? And then I get to, just fucking spank the boss. So that's a little lame. But other than that, I think it's a great fight.
Parsing is always gonna be stupid. Like the top level is always gonna be stupid. Like they are cleaving things they are not supposed to cleave. They are ignoring mechanics. They are having 10 people give them something that nobody would ever give to them unless they were trying to parse. I don't think we should balance around parsing. I do think that being eaten constantly is not a good idea either. I think they should put a debuff on you because like what's going to happen once that the healers can handle it a little better is that we're going to have 5 people inside the boss DPSing the whole time just to kill it faster, period. And that's going to get annoying. Like we're going to have half the raid not doing mechanics anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Warcraft blocks can even put a restriction in, like they can make it so like if you get eaten by the goo, you personally, like, your parse is, like, deregistered. Like, the rest of your raid, like, it can count, but, like, you personally get fucked just to make it so that way. That's not the strat. Like, I thought it was super cool, for example, watching, if anybody who wants to see how to play Warrior better, bro, fucking go look at Alondo's VODs. But, like,
insane.
Watch that guy, like, just fucking smoke the slime, and he's also helping out with the fucking furniture, and he's not getting eaten by the goo, at least in the first couple ones I saw him do, like, and he's, best in the world without even, like, cheesing it, just fucking smoking shit. Like, I like the idea of that being the right way to play. Although I wouldn't be able to do it, like, anywhere near to that level, but, like, hey, that's all good,
I think he's even sneaking clips in between the item and slime in some parts. Like I think he's I checked it out. Like his raid was leaving out like a little HP left on the items that were next to the boss, so he could get the last clip in before going back to DPS in the boss. Like the synchronization.
I don't think they're on purpose though. I think he's just like he's just helping out. But I don't think they're setting him up to like pad in some way. Or for example, on Aranicus, he got an insane parse while running and saving some healers, which like hurts your fucking DPS to get off the boss and go hit a non-debuffed ad and like pull it off a healer, and he's like still getting like best in the world numbers. Like that's awesome when play like that can stack up on the leaderboards. But I mean, padding's fine too. It's still fun. There's nothing too wrong about having some padding.
I love the start of the tier because this is before the cheeses kick in. Like next week we're gonna start seeing like all the people at the top are gonna be cheesing it, like 100% cheesing it, and yeah, because like he can do that now and be at the top, but he's not gonna be able to do that now and get at the top in like a week. He's gonna have to cheese it too with everybody else. But yeah, like
I bet you're right. Like people are gonna catch up on that.
I always said once you get a 90% parse, they should roll the credits. I got like the difference between 90% and 99% is like it doesn't really affect the normal raider. It's just for the eeping, the bragging about it. That's it.
Yeah, and for a lot of classes, it's you really killed like time sensitive, so it's a little silly to beat yourself up, but most likely it wouldn't be too hard for just about anybody who's playing with a group that averages a 90 parse for them to then get like a 99, unless it's like the group averages a 90 and you're getting like super high 90s and there's guys getting like 70s. That's a little different, but it's like if it's everybody in the group is getting a 90, yourself included, you could probably get 99s without doing anything
if you get like a full raid of 90 parsers, you're getting like so much that the bosses are gonna die so fast. It's not gonna be speedrun fast, but the bosses are gonna die so freaking fast. Like, not even close.
Yeah, I love so many of these fights, how, especially just the two dragons with the opportunity to cleave them, but not necessarily like the requirement. I also like how it's not very hard to avoid getting knocked in the middle, but it's something you have to pay attention to. They're mechanics that I think they're on your mind and it makes you feel engaged, but they're not actually all that punishing. It's like fake difficulty. Like when you do it right, it feels good, but it's actually super unlikely you do it wrong. I think that's good, because who gives a fuck about making it actually about skill? It's like about feeling good.
Yeah, I think that's just okay, conspiracy here. I think that's just the Blizzard, the men keeping the melees down again. Because nothing is stopping a Warlock or a Shadow Priest to dot both of the guys on DPS 1. They are just keeping us down again, man. That's what's going
That's
on.
right.
But yeah, we're gonna try that
right.
strat next week. Actually, the stacking them for cleaving. Was talking about it with the other
Hell
tank.
yeah.
It just
That's
takes
awesome.
a little bit of trying the angles right because people get breathed on. The raid
The
doesn't
Ogum
like
fight's
moving.
another funny one. Just stack them, even though one of the mobs is pretty much immune because it like heals 20% of its health a second. That shit's just straight pad to fucking stack it on that, but
Yeah,
it's all right.
I'm surprised that it still counts towards the logs because the damage does go through. He just regenerates it, but I thought they probably did that for threat. So like classes that do threat from damage don't get screwed. Because like if you are a prot paladin and you want to tank the guy that is immune, you can't if he was immune to damage because most of your threat is damage. You have like no threat. You have a lot of threat modifiers, but not a lot of base threats, so you couldn't tank him. The curator problem. So yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, I kind of hope that Warcraft blogs could resolve it. Although I mean, it's not a big deal if they don't, but I think it'd be kind of cool if they did. Yeah, if they make like damage done on the guy who's regenerating doesn't count until the other one's dead. I mean, that would screw whatever tank is like on that one, of course, but like on Grubbus, it was that way. The people like the off tank, if you're fucking controlling the crocodile, like the damage didn't count because it wasn't a requirement to kill him. So it's not the end of the world if they have something like that, but it would suck because if you off tanked all the time, you just look like a fool in the logs, and it wouldn't be your fault.
Who cares about tank parses, man? My tank parses, I didn't even check them, but I assure you they are god awful because like I am prot and everybody else is gladiator stand, so they are cranking 1,000 DPS and I'm just there with shield slam.
Yeah. I really like that Hazaz and Morphaz fight too. That one is, I think, so fucking well designed. I'm happy they fixed that.
It started being the easiest, and now it's, I think, one of the hardest in the raid. It might be easily top 3 hardest. I would say it's probably harder than Hakar too. Well, Hakar is easy.
Yeah,
Hakar
I think that one's gonna end up like it's gonna end up like the zapping boss, I think, and people are gonna see that it's there's a lot of strats you can do. I mean, for example, you don't really need to do the tank swaps if you realize that you can kind of just slam the boss fast enough. You don't even need a lot of DPS, but like you can quite easily get the first phase, so get the boss to 80% and the first sleep happens before the main tank needs a swap, and so then the dot just falls off. And the same thing happens again at 40%, I believe. So it's not too hard for a low DPS raid to solo tank it. And you can, for example, have the whole raid like stack on the boss's ass while it's casting Eternal Slumber, kill a couple Ellies, and then you instantly pop out. So like then you don't need to worry about doing any fancy stuff like having people topside.
I think that's
drag
gonna be
Ellies over the raid.
At least the POG strat from the future is gonna be just stacking on the back now. Like this happens to me every time a raid comes out. I do a tanking guide, and the next day or two, like they changed all the mechanics of that fight because it wasn't working as intended. Like the LOS strat was so easy.
Oh yeah, I made like an Adalarian guide and then released it, and like 10 hours later, the people I was showing in the fucking video were doing half the DPS of the other people, like because they had like an HP nerf, and people realized you could like do a 0 phase one, and so it was like these people are doing 1,200 DPS. I bet people are gonna do a lot more soon. Then it's like the next day people are doing 2,200.
Yeah, but like the part that gets me really happy about Sunken Temple is like the numbers were stupid, they were wacko, but they took a look at them, they fixed most of it. But there's not a single fight design that I look at and I think this is stupid. I think this is the best raid we had so far in a department. Like, if you compare it to Nomergan, so many stupid mechanics there. BFD, not quite stupid, it was super easy, but not great design either. I think Sunken Temple is like 8 out of 8 solid boss design, and I am really happy about that. They got a lot better.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really think they did a great job getting it to the current state it's in. I'm not going to say I think that the way they went about it was good. Because, like, for example, they one of the things they claimed is that our internal testing team was a little better than we thought. That's like something Agron put on Twitter, and I'd be like, motherfucker, you're
They say
claiming
that
your
every
internal
time.
testers are as good
They
as
say that every
Noda.
time.
Like, that is bullshit. Yeah, I'm like, dude, don't fucking lie to us. Like, you can just say, brother, we didn't test it, but you can't be that mad, guys. We fixed it in 3 days. Like, if they said that, it'd be like, bro, I get it.
I assure you
get it.
they
You want to
didn't
cheap out
test
on
it.
testing? Whatever.
I
Yeah,
assure
there's
you they
no
didn't
fucking
test.
way
They got
tested
25
it.
people in the team. Are you telling me you got like 4/5 of the team, 20 out of 25 people to test it? Like, you didn't test it. Like, and that's like a concerning thing that I think like the team is too small to test a 20-man, because I'm pretty sure they did test Nomeregan because they could. 10 people is a lot easier to come by. I don't think they tested this raid at all. Like, they might have done like some like 5 people testing where they buffed the stats of everybody so they could kind of simulate what's going on, so they could no bugs. But like, there is no way they actually tested with 20 real people. I don't think they did. Period.
Yeah, I feel like the test should be something like you talk to the team, you're like, all right, guys, we're going to get Friday off today, but not to test on Friday, because Thursday we're going to be testing. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk into the raid, and every 30 minutes that elapses, you have to chug a beer. And we need to be able to complete the raid within 4 hours the first time doing it. And if we can, it passes the test. And then, like, something like that should be the criteria. Because if you make it harder than that, you're going to fucking lock out like 60% of the community.
Yeah, I think there's also like
they didn't test it.
They didn't test it. They didn't test it. And like, honestly, you cannot necessarily be a great raider if you are a game designer, right? Like, being a good DPSer is kind of hard, and a lot of these people are like old, you know, like. I am 25 and I can already feel quite a bit of it. Your reflexes start slowing down a lot, right? I cannot DPS nearly as good as I could 5 years ago. And like, you know, like, they might be a decent. I get the point that he tried to make, even though I think it's a complete lie. That like, you cannot, you gotta take the testing team and make it a little harder, because the testing team is not gonna be very good. But yeah, they didn't test it. They didn't test it. That, if I gotta guess, they didn't test it. Period.
I wish they wouldn't say these little lies to us like they did, because it's like, I think that they got a fine result, but I hate how I can't trust Blizzard, you know? So I'm like, hey, Sunken Temple, it's an A. You did a great job. Just don't tell me the dog ate your homework, okay? Like, you did a good job. You can tell me the truth. You can say you didn't test it. It's all good, you know? Fucking like, if they nail 60, like if at 60 every raid is Sunken Temple tier, that will be Classic Plus.
Cataclysm is done.
I don't like runes really and all the changes in the game, but like, even though I'm a baby about that, if they fucking make everything kind of feel like Sunken Temple does for the difficulty, I think that would be amazing game design. Like, it would be absolutely fantastic. And I fucking been bitching about Season of Discovery like the whole time, but like, they really did a great job in Sunken Temple, I think.
I mean, like, this is the soft bigotry of low expectations, guys. Like, we expect very little of Blizzard, but I think ironically, they did a great job here. I am surprised they did a great job here, but I think they did.
I'm wondering what the class balance is going to look like in a couple weeks, assuming they don't make changes before we can really get it fleshed out. Like, I have no idea what pug raid leaders are requiring of strangers, you know? Like, if the way Sunken Temple plays out 2 weeks from now is most people are like, I can pug and I can get into a raid group in 20-ish minutes, and the raid from me like posting in world or messaging a random person for an invite to doing the first pull, if that's like 30-40 minutes, then that's really good. That's kind of how it was in 2019. You could have logged on Friday 5:30 after work and been in an MC pug that was starting by like 6:10. So it was low bullshit to get into the fun part of the game.
I don't know.
Hopefully it'll
like,
be the same with Sunken Temple.
I think especially Eranicos and like Hakar, like, they're not particularly quote unquote hard, but it's like so many things that like just one guy messing up makes it so much harder for everybody that I don't know if pugs are gonna be one-shotting the stuff often, or like if people are gonna pug period that much, because if you wanna join a guild, this is probably the right time. Because like if you do something like Nomeregan or BFD, you can brute force those mechanics if you got enough gear. Like, that's why people ask for logs, right? Because it's very hard to get any pug of any skill level to get the mechanics right. But if you get like 10, 99, 98, 95 parses in your raid, even if they suck at the mechanics, even if you get everything wrong, they are still gonna kill it because they brute force it through damage and healing. And I don't think you can do that in Sunken Temple, and that might become an issue for Pogs, because that's what Pogs rely on to clear.
If people are pretty certain that they'll eventually be at, like, if they can join a pug group and they have like this belief that we might have to spend 30 minutes on the last boss, but we'll get it, I think that'll be pretty good. It's like, I remember final phases of TBC, it would be pretty normal that you'd go to a black temple pug and you'd have to pull Illidan like 4 or 5 times before you'd kill him. But people had a decent amount of confidence that a group of mostly strangers could pull Illidan 4 or 5 times, then by then the tanks can avoid standing in fire and eating laser beams. Which was like, that was like the lion's share of the fight, was like, do the tanks know the mechanics of this fight? Because if you ask them if they do, they're going to say yes, either way.
I know the mechanic, I am the best tank ever. I only wiped 4 times. Well, during Eranico's progression,
that shit up once.
We had 5 wipes and I caused 2 of them, so... Actually 3.
Hey, it's part of being a tank, bro.
Well, yeah, it's too much resting on you, and like I feel Eranicus is the hardest from the tank point of view, because like if you're a DPSer, you can run into the clouds earlier, and you're never gonna mess it up. But if you're a tank, you gotta run in the last second, and you get screwed. You get screwed, like you get distracted. Also, like 2 of those wipes were like I forgot shield block in 1 swing and I got 1 shot, so that's gone now. So that should probably take the wipes down to 3 a raid. That should be really nice. But yeah, like...
I remember fucking up Sheer from Illidan years ago the first time. Having to pop shield wall like fucking 10 seconds into the boss fight.
It's insane. Like, it goes against all my muscle memory, because Nomeregan and BFD, you had a lot of threat issues, or like not really threat issues, but you had to raise threat. So like I never spent raise for shield block. It was pump, 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 pump. And now it's the opposite. It's like, don't get one shot, please don't one shot me, please don't one shot me. And I got pop shield block. I had to make a weak order to pop shield block on me at all times, because if I forgot it once, I would have died. And like, I haven't done that in forever. I didn't have the muscle memory for it. I had like a super awkward keybind for it, because I barely use shield block, right? Like, I only use it if I'm low or something, or if I got a dump rage, and now I gotta use it on cooldown. Mess everything up.
How'd you feel about something like, and this is kind of not classic-y, but maybe I think I could see myself being into it, having gems. So like, maybe not on the gear. Yeah, but maybe just like every item, no matter what, has like 1 gem slot or something. Like, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool if the way the classes are built, that there's actually decisions to be made about what you gem. I mean, like right now that might not really be the case, but if crit was better on a warrior, and like depending on how you build, agility is better or strength is better, I think it could be like neat, you know, or like a tank could pick like, ooh, am I gonna go for DPS stats, or am I just gonna gem stam? Not saying it's a great idea, but something like that would be a little interesting. But
yeah, something I had to do is,
way.
After progression, I didn't do this earlier, and I'm so mad at myself for not doing this earlier. I bought the best armor kit you can get. I think it's the rugged one, and I put armor kit on everything. And like, it did so much of a difference the next raid, because every single boss in this raid, it has a mechanic that it shreds armor. It's insane. And that little tiny bit of armor is like 200 DPS, 200 damage less a swing. It sounds like nothing, but that's almost what I need to not get one shot.
But, oh yeah, especially if you're at low armor, armor's really, really good.
Yeah, exactly, because it has diminishing returns on it.
It's like pretty flat once you get a certain amount. Like it's not like it's a smooth line, but at very low values, the value's much higher, but then it kind of like smooths out and goes like flat. So like armor, if you're like 10% or 20% away from the armor cap's really similar to armor at the armor cap. But if you're like at 0 armor, armor has like fucking crazy ass value. So it's like the same shit where if
like it might be like a 100 armor gain when you get down to like 30% armor because of the boss. But that 100 armor gain at that point is like 300 less deep damage a swing. It's insane. And that's also why, like, Druids in the chat right here, this is why your raid leader gets so mad at you when you forget Fairy Fire. Because when you get like 5 debuffs on the boss instead of 6, it's not like you're doing 1/6 sixth less damage increase. You're doing a lot more than that because every debuff is more important than the previous because of the diminishing returns thing. It's the opposite way, right? It's like super exponential.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, exactly. It'd be kind of nice if they showed you this stuff in game, because I mean, although it's cool that since it's hidden, it lets you learn it as a player and then like be like, oh, I know about this. But I kind of wonder like what's better, to have players like have to learn it on their own and then they get to feel cool about having earned that knowledge, or to just make the game more accessible. Like if I just moused over the boss and it said, without any add-ons, if it just said like this much armor, boss is taking this much like percent less damage, I wonder. Or if like you could mouse over your like Sunder, and if there was like
In the
one stack
tooltip,
missing,
yeah.
it would say like increases DPS. Yeah, you know, like I wonder, is that who knows? It would take some of the knowledge out of the game, but maybe it would make player conflict go down. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe people just
I don't
wouldn't
think
fucking
it
click the
would,
buttons anyways.
but I don't think it would be that much of a difference because most people are not gonna care no matter how much you try to reason with them. It's not like the druid doesn't know that verifier is important, he doesn't wanna throw it. That is not the same. We are not the same, brother. But the people at the top are always gonna come up with some theory crafting insanity or go above and beyond to get it. I don't think that's gonna be that crazy either. Should be about the same.
Yeah. It's like in Classic without feral druids, because they're not like very good, you know. Fucking like getting your resto druid to keep fairy fire up is a motherfucker.
I cannot. If I don't have a wicked, I cannot do it. If I don't have a wicked, I cannot do it. And I kinda care.
It's such a pain. Yeah, or people do the fucking shadow weaving holy priest, where you like go into the shadow tree and then at the start of the fight you're like rank 1 fucking shadow word pain 5 times. Playing that spec is hell on earth as a healer.
Yeah.
That is being condemned to hell, to be a healer who has to keep a debuff up.
And Fairy Fire is the easy one. Like Shadow Weaving is awful because you have like I don't remember how that build was, but it was like you have a 10% chance of popping it, so you gotta drop a lot of them to get like the 5 stacks going. So it just sucks. Just take a Shadow Priest.
Oh yeah,
people.
it was awful. Yeah, I would usually have a Shadow Priest in my groups. It wasn't optimal, but like just for the hell of it, and at level 60, because the Warlocks would like it, and it wasn't a huge DPS loss rate. It's like the raid loses like 800 DPS if you could have had, instead of a Shadow Priest, you could have like an optimal warrior player.
Yeah, like I feel that if I do not get a Shadow Priest in the raid for whatever reason, I am not gonna inflict the healer for that on that thing, because that's gonna mess up so much other stuff up. I don't know if that's the meta at the top level. I don't think it would be, because Shadow Priests are kinda decent now, even though they are still not good. They are like acceptable. I would probably justify a Shadow Priest for that, because the healers are probably at such a huge crunch in speedrunnings and parsers too, because they take less of them. I don't know. It feels nice to get that AoE healing.
I can't wait to see the speedrun meta.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, the mechanics, the
so
trash,
interesting.
Everything of this is like so hard to solve from a speedrunning perspective, right? I don't even know. Did you know this, by the way, that one of the best guilds in the world for speedrunning, they do not post videos of how they speedrun? They want to keep the strat secret. I think that's an outrage. Like, how are they still allowed
That's
to...
kind of funny.
How are they allowed to do that? Because in any other game, you do a speedrun and you don't post video evidence, they don't let you in. It used to be that way for WoW too, I think. I don't know if like they are unofficially...
I don't mind it too much, but I'm surprised they don't.
I don't know.
It's like, I feel like you'd want to be seen.
How do you know they are not exploiting? How do you know? Like,
yeah, they could be doing something weird. It's possible.
I assure you they are. They're like 15
snacks.
minutes ahead of the second guy. There's gotta be something going on there, but we're never gonna know.
Yeah, that's like in Nax, people used to, and so this is one of the reasons they added some more trash requirements in Classic. You could have one guy in your raid get in combat with trash and like pull it really far away, and so like the guy running the logs who stacks with the other 39 people in your raid, like his logs don't have that mob in combat. So like that's one of the reasons that they want to have trash requirements and stuff, because otherwise you could exploit when a log actually starts. Or another way you could do it is you could just fucking like, because the log is a text file. So if you don't put in trash requirements, you just clear the trash up to the first boss and you just open the text file and fucking delete the shit and start it at the first
Yeah,
boss. I mean, you have to
logs
like
are not
change
reliable as
timestamps,
proof
but
for a speedrun. They are barely reliable as proof of a parse at this point because there was a lot of exploits in Nomer.
uh-huh. I've kind of wanted to try before, like how hard would it be to make a fake log and see if Warcraft logs would accept it. But I would feel bad if like you could pull it off, and then like if there's not an easy way to invalidate your own log, because like then it'd make you a real dickhead. But it'd be really interesting to be able to see like, can you create a fake 100 parse and then like take it down yourself like right afterwards. But that's probably forbidden knowledge to try to put that on the internet. Because people start being bastards with it.
Yeah, like
Be
you
a neat
should.
little tech problem, though.
I'm not saying do it, but I'm not saying show them how to do it. But it would be funny if you made a video like how my obvious fake parse got accepted. You know that there's a video speedrun like that. I don't know how much they thoroughly check it, right? Because like you cannot end run everybody for long enough, right? Like there's gonna be something that doesn't add up. Like if you increase your damage and you don't like lower other people's damage in your raid, how is the boss is gonna take X amount of damage that he should have taken less because his HP is such an amount? But it would be interesting to know how hard it is to make a fake log. I don't think it would be that hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably not. It'd be interesting little technical challenge. Definitely dangerous though. Show anybody if somebody could figure it out and show how they did it, maybe a little bit of a bad idea. But I am hella curious. Super, super curious. Wonder how fast people are going to be clearing Sunken Temple eventually.
My
like
guess
the trash,
is that
what are you going to pull into bosses?
Aside from speedruns, I don't think we're getting so 1 hour clears anymore. I don't think that's gonna happen anymore. Because with wipeless, like if I took out all my wipes on the raid, it took me 2 hours. And of course you're gonna get a little better, but are you gonna get an hour better? I don't think we're gonna get twice as better. Unless like some outrageously some insane strat gets discovered for the trash at the top. There's so much trash in Sunken Temple, that's the main problem. I don't think we're gonna get that. There is a cool skip you can do in the last of the hallways where you send like where you just throw rage at the guy and like he does a loop around the whole place. Maybe we're gonna see something like an 80 mob pull and they AoE everything down. I don't know. Because you can still pre-clear it, so speedrunners are not gonna theory craft it because they don't need to. Because it's before the first boss, but the trash before the first boss is like so much.
Oh my god, yeah, I wonder, that'd be funny. I remember doing like Sarth, never tried to do a Sarth speedrun in Wrath because like no one gave a shit, but you were able to have a rogue go pull the dragon when you have all the trash up and vanish, and it would pull all the trash in the whole dungeon to you. And so like my guild, we'd do it that way every time, and we fucking die usually, but like we'd kill a lot of the trash and then we'd do it a second time
faster.
we'd kill the rest of the trash. yeah, we'd go in there, it'd pull the whole dungeon. Sometimes we'd wipe, but even if we wiped, it would still be faster than like running around and then do the start 3D after. That shit was fucking fun. I liked that. I wonder, it's kind of like if stuff's chillable, it's killable. So maybe people pull all the fucking stuff and just kite it with mages. That'd be neat.
Yeah.
I don't know if everything's chillable.
I think we're gonna get something very similar to that because there is no way the trashing there is insane. They nerfed the HP. Can you imagine doing that pre-nerf, like quarter HP every trash mob? Oh my god, it would take you 6 hours to do the trash alone. It's so much trash in Sunken Temple. It feels like that at least. I don't know what's the number count. Maybe that's the same amount of mobs as in Nomeregan, but like, god damn, there is so much.
I like easy trash. I'm down with a lot of easy trash that you can kill quickly. And Molten Core, I would say, has a decent amount of trash, but it feels good. You kind of just able to get in and like stay in combat and hit shit all the time. And it's like an hour long raid. If your pug's pretty good, I'd say if they relaunched 2019 Classic, people would probably be doing Molten Core. The first week's like 2 hour, like a month in, like an average pug probably be like an hour and a half. But like I think that's kind of nice. Maybe it's kind of nice that Sunken Temple won't be a sub-hour experience for most likely too many people in pugs, because it's kind of in some ways it's cool to enjoy the raid for a little bit longer. A little bit of fake difficulty if the trash, I think, can make the experience feel a little better. Because maybe if you just pug and you play with strangers, it would be kind of weird to spend an hour with dealing with the friction of group finding, and then you smoke the raid in 30 minutes. Like, be like, what am I fucking doing with my life? You know?
Yeah, like I always say, like especially back in American because it was like relatively easier. An hour looking for people is gonna save you 2 hours inside of that place. We got saying in Spanish that an hour in the forge is like a day in the grinder when you make a knife, because like getting it right before you start is like so important. I don't know if Sunken Temple is gonna be that way though, because mechanics are kind of a pain in the butt though. I want to get good people,
yeah, I'm
obviously.
wondering with the tank deaths and shit. Like, tanks are probably not going to get all that much more tanky, so, you know, and healing's always high skill, so I'm kind of wondering, is it always going to be just a little rough for pugs? I mean, it's probably fine right now. I mean, everybody seems to be able to pug it, and having a few wipes isn't a huge deal. I don't think it's in a good place, but I am really curious. Like, a month from now, we'll see. What is it looking like? What is it like if you don't play with a lot of friends? How much time does it actually take to get to the good shit?
Yeah,
like,
that's
BFD was
another
fucking great.
That's another part about like getting a guild that is so nice for you, because like if you think guilds is like too much of a time commitment, getting people together is like so hard. If you're in a guild that just says this is the time, raid time, you don't show up at that time, you don't get to go, and like everybody gets in and they lock in, you save like an hour and a half of your life. Fogging 20 people is so much time.
Yeah, I remember the very first time I did BFD. It took like hardly any time to fill the group, but it was before the nerf happened, and I was trying to play like regular prot warrior, and it had really, really bad threat, and I had no gear, and we got fucking smoked on the Murloc boss, and I called it, and I like didn't play SOD for like 2 weeks. I was like, fuck this stupid game, I'm pissed off. and then they nerfed it, and I was like, I'm back. Warrior's back, I'm back.
Yeah.
I want to play Era for a bit.
Gellyhouse was super stupid. There was like so many immunity phases on it. I didn't like BFD at all. Honestly, like the raid design, I thought it was probably the worst.
I liked how it was easy, but yeah, like Gellyhast having your raid team having more DPS, making it harder to parse, because as the raid's average DPS increased, you spent more of the fight not hitting mobs yourself, because like the immunity phases are so long. So like, that's bad. If there's immunity phases, then you have this like inverse relationship with like kill speed and like DPS. I think we're gonna see it on Aranicus too. Like, give it a month, the top logs for Aranicus are going to be like some Chinese raid teams with people like fucking taking turns being the guy who like does damage, because there's 40 seconds where you're not allowed to hit that fucking boss.
Well, but
so
can
if people
you
find out how to like...
do the ads count for the parse?
Yeah, I think
because
they count.
The ads spawn when he goes immune the second wave of them, so like you got something to do as a DPS. Shouldn't be that bad. In Gellyhouse, you got nothing to do, just those stuff. You're playing bullet hell. It's horrible. I hated that fight.
Yeah, I also didn't like the one right after it. Lorgus was fucking annoying. Some of that was like the way it was parsed too, because you could do some weird shit.
All it took was one idiot to get like a dual wield, and you kill the whole raid.
A lot of cringe fights in BFD as far as parsing went. I thought Kelris, once they nerfed it, and like Akumai, those were good fights. Although the Akumai cheese is a little silly, but I don't mind that stuff too much. Although it was a little silly, especially like on Alliance having in a lot of groups kind of having an edge with being able to solo tank on a pally. But if you had a fast kill speed, it really didn't make much of a difference anyways, especially because like people wanted to spawn ads.
Akuma is like the perfect example of why checking logs in a POG is like such a difference, that people get upset at why people ask for logs. And like Akuma is a perfect example of that, because like once you have enough DPSers and like good enough healers in Akuma, it becomes a tank and spank. You ignore all the mechanics. And it used to be like a more or less complex fight for that raid at the time. And as soon as you got enough DPS to kill him fast, it wasn't anymore. So I think those kind of mechanics where you can just ignore them, it makes it a lot more gatekeeping in a way. Like, I don't know if that's going to be the actual effect, but I feel that's what it causes. Because you cannot brute force the mechanic in Sunken Temple. I think a lot of people that are not as good in logs are going to be... Especially if you can prove that you kill the bosses, because that's probably as far as it matters, probably the most important part of it, like not mess up the mechanics.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's so much funny stuff with Akumai, like people getting the top parses, especially at least with the mages. There was goofy shit like this Delano guy had like the rank 1 mage parse for I think the very last raids. He might have lost it like just right before the end, but I was checking what he did, and it's like before Akumai does the breath, just his whole raid stacked on the fucking tank, and the whole raid eats it, and they all just like get purged and spawn a fucking million things. And then he AoEs them all, and someone died while they were doing it, so he posted the VOD on YouTube, and it's like he's like fucking yelling like, "Oh, like can I get a bop like you do this?" And they're freaking the fuck out, and then they get and they're like, "Whoa, we did it!" I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, the AoE cheeses are like, but if you don't make ads count towards the parse, that's the part that I freaking hate. And it's like Warcraft Log has a choice in mechanic design now, because like how they count the parses, it changes how people are gonna wanna play. If you don't count the for example, the furniture DPS counts for the parse, right? I think they do in the slime fight.
Yeah.
All it takes is Warcraft logs to say furniture damage doesn't count towards your parse anymore, guys. And all of a sudden, nobody's gonna get the mechanics right. I hate that part of Warcraft logs. Especially the Gravis thing, even though like they're trying to prevent cheeses. I get that, but at the same time, it's like, why do as a website, a third-party website, have so much power on how people are gonna play the raids?
Yeah, it's like I don't mind too much if the top parses are cheese, and if a regular group can't accomplish them. Like it's not a huge deal in my opinion, because there's so few people going for the highest parses, and 99s are basically always accessible if your group's decent. You don't need to get 99s. Doesn't require people like setting you up like easy pitches to hit. So.
Yeah, but at the same time, like people that kind of think they are good, but they suck, they are gonna try to do the cheese in the middle of your raid, and that's the part where you get screwed in pogs.
Oh yeah.
You're not like if it was the case, like they said, we're not gonna add damage doesn't count towards a parse. Good luck getting a pug. Good luck getting a pug done. The ads are not gonna die. That's what I hate about Warcraft logs and the power they wield, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah, I think usually with people fucking stuff up, it's like when you're required to do a mechanic that lowers your DPS, so it's like mages needing to decurse. I think a way to make the game better is you want to move decursing off of DPS classes. Like if you make dispels and shit not on DPS classes, you make it easier for people to align incentives. Like imagine if fucking warriors had like a poison dispel. Like it would cause so much fucking drama. It would be absolutely hilarious. Like why are mad? People be like they become up excuses.
They are mad enough that they got a pommel every like 30 minutes. Yeah. Like. And it procs Wind Fury. The Wind, so like that, they get a Wind Fury proc off it, and they still get mad about it. Like it has like a super long cooldown anyway, and they are still furious. I don't know. Maybe like I love Shield Slam. One thing that is really cool about Shield Slam is how you got Porsche the boss every what's the name? Jamalan, and if you get Jamalan being the guy that dies last, you gotta Porsche that guy, and having a shield. A Porsche on the tank is so handy for like, because who's gonna do the Porsche in a raid usually? The poor DPS shaman. So like you're unscrewing them a little bit when you got Shield Slam for that. I wish they made 100% chance, but that might be busted in PvP though. I don't know if they made. So like in PvP it's 100% chance to dispel, but in PvP it's 50%. I wish they did that, honestly.
That's so funny. I didn't realize that in PvP it was a 50% chance, because I remember people, I think it was at the TBC pre-patch where they add the Dispel into the Shield Slam, because I do remember Warriors trying to dispel people's buffs.
No, it's in Vanilla
Stormwind
too.
And probably in Orgrimmar with the Shield Slam.
It's in Vanilla too, but in Red they made it 100% period. Because they reworked the Prot Warrior entirely, and they made it a good PvP spec. They did a lot of changes for that. But that's different.
Yeah, Rathos let down still though with Warrior. I remember I leveled fucking Warrior, and I was like, maybe this will be good for speed running because Shockwave and shit for trash and Nax, and I was like, nah, this class fucking sucks ass. And I swapped to a Paladin.
Know, bro. It's just Rat's such a letdown in so many ways, bro. I don't think I would ever play Rat again. I didn't even play Rat Classic because
Mhm.
I hate that expansion so much.
Yeah, I think it would have been way better if they didn't buff it, because like if you weren't in a quite good guild, the first weeks were actually like really, really rough. And that sucks, because like if you were in a good guild, the first weeks of Wrath Classic, it was sick. Like you go, you show up to raid, you clear everything in one day. It takes like 2 to 3 hours. You get your loot, maybe you get some better parses. It's nice. And if you were in like a more average guild, it was like probably what would happen is, hey guys, I just got off YouTube. All the YouTubers told me this is going to be really easy. And then you go in, you get smoked on patchwork. Then maybe you clear it. It's like the end of the raid night. You're like, all right, guys, we didn't have enough time to get to Sarth. We'll get Sarth on Thursday. Sartharion, not Sarth the YouTuber. And then you show up to Sartharion's lair on Thursday, and you're like, I heard from the YouTubers that Sarth 3D is pretty easy, guys. Like it's a little pathetic, so we'll get this figured out. And then you go wipe to it like 7 times. You're like, guys, we only have like an hour left in raid. And then you go kill all the drakes. You do a 0 Drake Sarth, and everyone's like, fuck, man, fuck, we suck. I'm upset. And that was like most people's reality at the start of Wrath, is that's how their raids went.
Well, like because Rat proper
Unfortunate.
was super easy. They buffed the heck out on Axe, if I recall correctly, right?
They did. I wish they didn't. I think it would have been way better for
Yeah.
most people.
They went out of hand. I mean, that raid sucked, but like I don't think making it harder in numbers would have fixed it because that raid just sucked. They ripped out all the good mechanics of Nax, and it was just like a tank and spank 20 times over. It didn't have any of the interesting stuff. It just freaking sucked.
Yeah, I remember the dumbest mechanic in Wrath Nax, it's in Classic Nax also, is if you can auto attack through walls. I think in any version of WoW you can auto attack through walls, but if you auto attack through a wall and it's an NPC you're hitting, you're considered to be in line of sight of that NPC. And so I lost fucking Immortal a couple times because we'd have somebody in at the end behind a fucking ice block at Saf, and they'd accidentally right click Saf, and so they'd be auto attacking it through the block, and the fucking disco ball hits the ground and they die. And every time they'd be like, guys, I was behind the ice block, it's a bug, I didn't do anything wrong. I'd be like, you were fucking auto attacking. No, bro, I swear to God I wasn't auto attacking. You think when we check the logs it's not going to say that you fucking meleeed them? And no, it's always that. I remember when you did that, Baka. Okay, I still love you, but you're a motherfucker. I want that immortal title.
Yeah, like as long as the hitboxes collide, you can hit through anything basically, because like there's nothing in between. Like that's the meta, the torrent meta back when we had the big hitbox. I miss that.
It's so lame they took the big hot hitbox away from Torrent, because like it's actually
It was the only thing we had.
PvE.
Warstorm
Yeah,
sucks.
it's literally it's like the only thing you have.
Bruh.
It could be annoying as a tank, I guess, because if you go check shit on YouTube, the mobs all like interact differently with you. But like as a fucking DPS, having like an extra yard on your auto attacks is like, you can actually turn that into more damage, or you could cleave things from like 2 yards further away as a Tauren, or if you're a gnome, you are like super short and your cleaves just suck.
Yeah, it used to be that the gnome hitbox was
gnomes.
like way tinier than it was, and in mid vanilla back in the day they made it bigger because like they would step on a puddle and they would get dismounted.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I remember like mages that did the Mara farms. If they were a gnome, they had to be careful because there's like water that if you go through, like if you're a female gnome, you're swimming. If you're a male gnome, you might be swimming, but not always. You can get killed by the mobs. Like, kind of funny micro mechanic. I could see them making gnomes have a regular hitbox, but they shouldn't have nerfed Taurens. That's so lame. Poor Taurens, dude. Just give them big arms. I mean, the AoE stun is like cool for PvP, but like big arms is awesome for PvE.
Yeah, like if I could play a torrent mage, bro, the insanity I would put in the jump skips, because there's a couple skips in Sulfarak that you can do as you are a torrent and you cannot do if you're any other race. It's hilarious.
Interesting.
Yeah, I get why they took it away, but give us a new racial ability, bro.
We need Tauren paladins and then
trinket.
some kind of shaman.
Humans got a PvP trinket. What did we get? We got nothing. We got mace spec. Oh,
right.
So many maces that people never use. Awesome.
What could have been a missed opportunity?
I don't know. Like,
What's doing BRD like? I haven't really tried like the dungeons at all.
I did it once, basically the bosses, so that they locked out half the bosses for some whatever reason. And they are in the, the Grim Gosler, that bar they got in the middle of the dungeon. They are like drinking, they are like passed out drunk. That's the lore why you cannot kill them. They ran out of dungeons for level 60, I think. Like, my hope was the whole time, make BRD a 10-man, make Sunken Temple a 20-man, give us a raid for, make it Sunken Temple the try-hard raid, make it even harder maybe, and make 10-man easy so the casual people can still do something. Aside from that, arena runs are easy. I don't think they're particularly hard. Like, yes, you are 4 levels below the boss, but at the same time you got like 5% hit you're not supposed to have, so it evens out.
BRD is fucking awesome. I wouldn't like to do it on Era a whole bunch because I've done it a billion times before, but as far as like the dungeon itself, it's super fucking cool. It's definitely a challenge for new players just because like people like forget, oh, you gotta go click this thing and that'll make the gate open. Oh, you need a key for here. Like, oh, this is, once you do the arena, this thing opens. So like new people get in there and fucking spend 5 hours all confused, but it's a good learning experience. It doesn't usually trigger new players, I think, to get a little lost in BRD, and then old players get to feel like they're fucking geniuses for like memorizing like 5 things off a little sheet. But
what, you mean you cannot figure out your way through a maze with like 17 hallways that you never been to? You must have a mental issue. You dumb. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like who hasn't accidentally taken the wrong way to get to the fucking architect? You know, like how the door, you can go by the arena and then the door closes and you can walk over that gate. Some people, instead of fucking trying to jump out of the area near arena to get onto the great anvil, they'll fucking clear all the trash and like do an extra 15 fucking packs. Like, who hasn't done that at some point in time? Just like literally spending an extra 2 hours clearing trash.
BRD must have been so cancer. It was still cancer in private servers because people sucked back then, but it must have been so cancer in 2004. Like, easily must have taken 5 hours to do that thing full. Because like people didn't do arena runs back then. They didn't do, okay, let's do arena and we reset. Like, that didn't exist. They would have to do the whole thing. Can you imagine, without knowing any skip, with people sucking, with dial-up internet, without comms? They must have wiped 10 times by the time they got to the torch room. Doing the torch, oh my god, in 2004, the torch room in my life.
I couldn't even imagine that, because the torch room in 2019, that was fucking brutal. Because like, if you didn't have decent knowledge of like how the patrols worked and like how the Ellie thing, because you don't have time to fucking stop and type, because somebody will be stupid and like get scared and do an AoE fear, and then you're gonna wipe and it's gonna be like a 30-minute walk because no one knows how to efficiently walk, of course. Or like you're as a ghost and you fall into the fucking lava pits by Thorium Point and you're like, how do I get up, guys? It's an absolute nightmare.
No, it's like, I see no way. I am shocked people clear that place at all. And that's why guilds were like so important and popular back then, because it was such a nightmare to get anything done that if you didn't have like an organized the same people every time, you couldn't do it. Even Ubers, which I consider like a much easier raid, is like back in 2004 it must have been hell. They were 15 man in it. And like, can you imagine tanks without what we know now trying to tank Ubers where every mob is untontable? The healer must have died every pool.
Must have been really, really crazy. Like, God, or I remember in Ubers, if people wanted to do the class quest and having to do some of the bosses in there, some of them are legit hard as fuck. If you like don't know the exact mechanics, like the lizard guy that you do near the beast, I still don't know what the fuck that guy does. Because every time I killed it, the strat would be like, hey guys, we got fucking world buffs, so like we're just gonna smoke them. And it'd be like, if anything goes wrong and you fucking die, it's like, hey, I know we're in like fucking AQ gear, but none of us know how this fucking thing works. And like somehow he like kills the whole raid. So sorry, buddy, fuck your rogue alt. We're getting out of here.
What's the name of the...
I couldn't imagine doing that in like 2005.
What's the name of the last guy? The guy that drops the Draconian deflector? The commander...
I think it's Drakisat.
Drakisat, yeah. Like, nobody did the kiting thing back in the day of like a hunter pulling it and running away. They tanked that thing. They needed 3 tanks to clear Ubers, bro.
Fuck me, dude. That shit would be nuts. The best to be like, somebody be like, I had this happen so many times. You tell someone to kite it, and you'd be like, "Do you know how to kite it?" And they'd say yes. And they'd be a hunter, and they'd be like, "Arcane shot," and that they wouldn't use stretch it. They arcane shot, no auto attack, start running. They have like 90 threat on the fucking boss. A healer sneezes and pulls threat, and then and they're not in fucking Discord, and they're like, and like you just see someone typing
Healer,
like,
what? You
"Oops."
so stupid. You mess up my pool.
Yeah, like shit like that all the fucking time in 2019. Or a mage for some reason doing like a rank 1 frostbolt instead of like a max rank 1 to pull it. I saw that before too. I'm like, are you worried about face pulling this so you want to cast faster? Like, cast a max rank spell, you fucking jackass. And then you get
Yeah.
smoked.
Like, doing
So,
the whole thing back in the day must have been hell. Like, that's where the no life stereotype of WoW comes in. Because if you actually wanted to get raiding done at that time, you really had to put your life to it. Because if it took you 4 hours
oh,
to clear a
totally.
BRD and you need to clear that place 20 times to get your gear, how the hell are you gonna. Like, I was talking to Blazing Bob the other day. He runs a Warcraft Reloading podcast. I think you know him. Like,
Uh-huh.
he told me like back in 2004 it was like he had recently gotten married or started dating or something like that, and like he was living with his now wife, and he told me it was like I would go to work and I would go home and we would both play WoW all day, and that's all we would do. Like, that was his entire free time in his life, was just playing WoW, and like that's what it took. It was insane. I couldn't do it.
Oh, that was COVID times with me. It was me and my wife just fucking play all the time. We do like fucking 10 raids a week, 40 mans. That shit was fucking fun. Just come from work and be like, I fucking hate my job. I'm gonna play some World of Warcraft. Hell yeah, brother. And then maybe somebody fucks up, makes you lose your world buffs, and then you scream. Good times,
It's
good times, 2019.
it's one of those things where like it's fun when you're 20 and not very fun when you're 25, 30 anymore.
Uh,
Yeah, I
I don't
couldn't
know,
do
I'd
it
fucking do
anymore.
it again.
I would have done it back then, absolutely, but not anymore.
God, there's so much wild shit. I remember the tank spot videos back in the day. There's like hardly anyone making guides on how to fucking do fights. And there's those tank spot guys. And they'd be like, this is how you're gonna do the fights, everybody. And most of YouTube was fucking barren, and the search was like shitty back then too. So somebody'd be like,
Awful.
there's this YouTuber dude. They show unedited videos where they talk with a really bad mic where it's like, and it's like, oh, this is the best, this is the fucking good shit. This is how we do it, fellas.
Like,
Stuff was nuts back then.
Swifty was considered, I don't think he had a lot of good stuff going for him to this day, but like Swifty was considered like a masterpiece of video making because he would cut stuff out and just show the fights on the video and put music on it. It was
Simply editing text in and cutting the video a bit made him like the best WoW content creator.
yeah. He was like easily like 7 years ahead of everybody else at the time.
Uh-huh. Do you remember Nim? That guy would make like songs about World of Warcraft. Like you
You
just
mean
like
the
rip off popular
dress
songs.
song?
Fuck, he had like so many of them. Let me check.
Oh,
What the hell's
no,
the
no,
guy's
like it's the
name?
end of the world as we know it. That guy.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the end of the
It'd be songs
world of
like
Warcraft and I feel fine. That guy? Pog all night.
maybe.
Pogs all night.
You'd have like an Old
Don't
War
trust a
song too,
rogue.
fucking
That guy?
Summer Gale Nessingwary.
Yeah, I
Let's
think
see.
it's
Is this
that
guy's
guy.
fucking website still up?
Oh my god.
Holy shit, it's still up. This fucking website from 2010 is still fucking up. Summergale.net.
I am still surprised Warcraft movies is still up, man. Like, they haven't touched that. They haven't put a new video in that place in like 4 years.
Fuck, really?
Yeah,
That
it is
shit's
still up
nuts. That's
somehow.
awesome.
I mean, I hope it stays
Oh,
up. There's a lot of
gosh.
videos there that never got archived, but bro,
Uh-huh.
like they had like this weird arcane publishing system where like you needed approval from the moderators that they ran the website to get videos up. So they stopped doing that, and like now you cannot put videos in that place anymore. It's
Oh,
really,
okay.
it's really really weird.
Yeah, so many just old iconic WoW videos. I remember as a kid, it'd be so cool when a new one would get made because it wasn't like nowadays where nowadays, like my content included, like people make stuff that's like informational. It's not like necessarily super artistic. So it's not like something like you'll see and you'll like fucking remember. Like, people aren't gonna remember like this podcast episode. They're gonna like have some fun in the moment and be like, yeah, I don't fucking remember any of that. But there'd be like a video, be like, guys, you have to see this fucking video, and there'd be like 5 million views on it. And, like, everybody you know would be like, did you see the blah 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 video? That
Yeah.
was wild back in the day.
I mean, it was
That still
because there
does
was
happen
so few of
sometimes,
them. You know, like,
Mhm.
if you try to do what they did now, nobody would care. It's just like the cold sense of it. Like, I remember, like, us Mongol guys, when they came out, they were by far the best guys that ever came out, because they were like so. He would cover the fight, he would tell you how to do the fight, he wouldn't waste your time, he would just talk. And you look at it now and you're like, is somebody in 2024 doing this would get any views? And they wouldn't. Just, like, I think us are like, right now, like, our styles is probably like the least editing heavy that people are doing in the modern thing that is working right now. And like, it's still so much ahead of that. It's just the competition got really, really insane over time.
Yeah, totally. I can't wait to see another. If anybody's ever seen like Pint or like Uber Danger's videos, I can't wait to see some more videos like that from somebody. Like, I can't make any shit like that, but those are the kind of videos I'm super into seeing about WoW. Or it's some story fucking bullshit, and it's a series, and it's like 3 hours of fucking crap. That stuff's sick, but I cannot make that, so I won't be making that.
I cannot even remember what happened to me last week. I don't know how that guy chronicles his entire thing. Was he keeping a journal? Was he like, dear diary, today they stole my shard on... I don't know what that is, how that guy does it. Barney is insane. But I do think like a lot of the ambition in content creation is gone. At the same time, I think that's also a bit of what Propel does. Again, right? Like, people are not doing what they like, the same amount of effort they are doing it in a lot of cases. Like, I see a lot of people that used to do machinimas and I get why they don't do it anymore. But they took them like 10 hours, 2 days, a week to make. Well, like, so much work. And now they are just like another Ass Mongol clone. And it's like, I get it, but yeah. Yeah. They started... When there wasn't any money on it, people were willing to do that. But now that there is money on it, ironically, they don't want to do it anymore. It's funny.
Yeah, what else is wild to me is how many people that have WoW videos that are really artistic don't have an integrated sponsor. So it's like, I don't really think that those people are like, they're doing it because they like love it. They're not even doing it for money. They'd probably be the best candidates to make money off of it. But most of them aren't doing it. Like, I don't think Barney's videos ever have sponsors. But like, if Barney got a sponsor on a video of a fucking million views, they get like a $20,000 check.
I think Barney is an exception in the sense that he's probably one of the few people that do it that have like enough views that he can probably justify it. But like, that model is probably not sustainable. So I completely get it if you want to do that full time. That's why it takes him 8 months to make a video. He probably has a job, right?
Yeah, hopefully they can like do it full time one day if that's their goal.
Yeah. All right, man. I kind of ran out of time. Something came up right now. We're going to have to, for the first time ever, we're going to have to cut off the stream on time. We always go like 30 minutes overtime.
Cool. Yeah, I'll catch you later, dude. Peace, bro.
Much love, homie. Thank you for coming, everybody. Want to say something before we go? Want to plug something? Today's the day.
I can't think of anything. Click our fucking videos, guys, all right? For the algorithm or whatever. Or maybe don't. Whatever the hell you want to do.
I don't know this man, but I like what he's saying, guys. Subscribe to Jake, guys. I linked it in the title of the video. And thank you for watching. See you guys.
Yeah, and I'll link to Medina.